Welcome one and all to the Opera Epicles. I am the star of today's show, Linny. So, for my next trick, I will require the participation of one lucky audience member. Please, if my assistants could bring out the magical boxes now. There are 2 boxes and only 2 boxes. One is here and
Scene ini diawali setelah si Meng berhasil keluar dari akuarium yang menandakan pertunjukan telah berhasil. Pada pertunjukan berikutnya, Linny pun akan menampilkan sebuah trik sulap teleportasi, di mana dia akan berpindah tempat melalui media kloset yang dipasang di panggung serta di bangku audiens. Pada trik ini, Linny akan menumbalkan. Pada trik ini, Linny akan membutuhkan sukarelawan dari penonton untuk ikut serta. Setelah nomor kursi berhasil dikocok, penonton yang terpilih pun dibimbing untuk mengikuti instruksi. Penonton yang awalnya ragu pun iya-iya saja berkat teknik ancaman.
Where you might end up. You might even find yourself in the fortress of Meripede.
Oh, okay.
Setelah masuk, hitungan mundur pun akhirnya dimulai. Linny yang awalnya akan menghitung mundur mulai dari 1000, karena dipikir akan kelamaan akhirnya hitungan mundur pun hanya membutuhkan 60 detik.
10! Almost there now. Swapping 2 people is harder work than you might think. Even a master magician like me can't guarantee I'll get it right the first time. Hey, wait! Is this the back one? I can't tell. They both look the same inside. Huh? No, that's not it. I'll try again. 7! Hey, slow down! Honestly! 5! 4!
Selaras dengan hitungan mundur, seluruh ruangan pun makin menegang dengan mundurnya waktu yang ditentukan. Pada 10 detik terakhir, penonton yang tegang pun dibuat terperangah ketika Linny berhasil keluar dari kloset yang berlawanan.
Ta-da!
Di tengah rasa amazing dari lemari audiens, seisi gedung pun dibuat syok dengan jatuhnya akuarium yang tepat di atas kloset yang berada di atas panggung. Dan tanpa diduga kejadian tersebut merenggut nyawa dari salah satu kru Linny Family. Menyadari kejadian tersebut di luar pertunjukan, Mansur pun langsung satset mengamankan gedung opera. Melihat Mansur yang panik langsung mengamankan gedung, si paling caper pun langsung ikut nimbrung atas insiden tersebut. Setelah mendengar dugaan dari Mansur atas keterkaitan dengan kasus penculikan, Furina pun langsung melayangkan tuduhan penuh kepada Linny Family akan kasus penculikan yang telah menjadi rumor suram di bangsa ini. Setelah Linny Family divonis oleh Furina, Furina yang mendapatkan dukungan dari warganya pun hasratnya semakin menggebu ditambah dengan ditunjuknya sang rival yang menjadi pengacara. Furina pun semakin bersemangat atas kasus yang menimpa Linny Family. Setelah seluruh audiens selesai diperiksa, rekonstruksi pun akhirnya dimulai. Setelah mediasi dengan pihak tergugat, penyelidikan pun dimulai. Setelah pengumpulan bukti dirasa masih ngambang, dibantu dengan demosel aka pimpinan detektif netral pihak ketiga yang sempat bertemu di luar, penyelidikan pun berlanjut dengan membongkar trik sulap di ruang bawah tanah gedung opera.
The box with the lucky audience member in it would be shuttled over to the other side using the trolley.
This trolley can raise and lower and even rotate, ensuring that the box will face in the right direction.
Precisely. The inner box would descend after the audience member was put inside and be moved along the trolley, all while the outer box would remain on stage as if nothing had ever changed. Once the box was lowered, the trolley would store some energy through this device here, with which it would complete the rest of the steps. The audience member would only be able to feel some slight movements in the dark, and by the time she walked out, she would already be back on stage. Lynette would briefly walk out of the box and then go back in, jumping into the tunnel and escaping before the box on the trolley could finish ascending. And then I walk out of the other box in the audience area, and the trick would be complete. The operative word here being would.
Singkat waktu persidangan pun digelar dengan bukti yang masih acak-adut.
Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the causes and results of the incident, could we please have Mr. Linney explain the trick?
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage. All the necessary items have been prepared.
Thank you, Mr. Linney. In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began, and thus could not have committed the crime. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady Farina, do you wish to refute his statement in any way?
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Linney is clearly lying. There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time if you were to abduct Halsey and murder Cowell. In fact, I'd say you were hardly in that tunnel at all.
That is simply your hypothesis based on the presumption that I'm guilty.
Oh, is that so? And if I may ask, what did you hear while you were inside your box?
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation for the finale.
And you didn't hear anything else at all? Nothing that might leave an impression of any kind?
No, nothing.
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud. One so loud that I believe practically everyone heard it.
Setelah dihujani dengan tuntutan yang dilontarkan dari Furina, kejanggalan pun mulai muncul dengan Lini yang mengaku tidak mendengar suara apapun kecuali hitungan mundur dari para audiens. Ditambah lagi dengan terbongkarnya bahwa mereka berdua berasal dari panti asuhan yang dikelola oleh Harbinger. Mendengar pernyataan tersebut, Lini pun tidak terima karena itu semua tidak berkaitan dengan pertunjukan, namun karena fakta, Lini pun tidak menyangkal pernyataan tersebut. Mendengar kata Fatui, kuping sang pengacara pun langsung panas dan langsung mengajukan interupsi untuk menghentikan persidangan sementara.
Yes, they're true, Your Honor.
What should we do now?
Granted.
Di belakang tempat persidangan, Lumine dan Paimon yang sempat ngamuk pun akhirnya memutuskan untuk tetap membantu. Hanya saja kali ini bukan karena Besti, melainkan hanya sebatas atas nama kebenaran dan demi menegakkan keadilan. Akhirnya persidangan pun berhasil dilanjutkan.
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her reconstruction of the events.
As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which caused the loud thud. He did not realize that this sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed earlier that he could not hear the sound. Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent others from recognizing her. At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise, and caught Linny red-handed. So Linny proceeded to knock him out too before stuffing him into that box. Afterward, Linny passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands, before operating the devices such that Cowell's death would be ruled an accident. And there you have it. That's the truth.
Setelah refresh memori dengan reka ulang progres persidangan, Lumine pun menyusun argumen untuk menyanggah semua tuduhan. Setelah pusing milih karena kebanyakan info, akhirnya keberatan pun berhasil dibuat.
Something to say. When the countdown started, Linny did indeed go into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground core of the Oratrice is stored. Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. Since he felt something was amiss, he returned immediately. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again, and in order to complete the magic trick, he did not remain there for any length of time. Finally, he reached the surface, and that was when the accident happened from his point of view. Therefore, he's innocent! If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to kill? Assuming that what you say is true, Linny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would the point of killing someone on stage be?
Oh, they have a point.
That's right, you tell him!
And that's why they're partners of mine. They've managed to turn things around.
Oh, well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your claims? Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, how could he have not heard that sound? Why do you ask? You're saying that he wasn't?
That's right! Linny wasn't in the box or in the tunnel. That's why he didn't hear anything strange during the performance. This means that when the crime happened, Linny had already entered the basement via the vent. The same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof! How do you like that?
Well played.
To think you'd use such logic.
Di tengah situasi yang memanas, persidangan pun kembali buntu dengan tidak adanya bukti dari sang pelaku pembunuhan.
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring things out?
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Di atas kebuntuan yang terjadi, muncullah spekulasi baru bahwa kemungkinan Halsey bukan dibawa kabur melainkan larut dalam air seperti trik sulap yang Lynette alami sebelumnya. Dengan adanya spekulasi baru, sang pengacara pun mengajukan interupsi untuk memeriksa barang pribadi seluruh kru dari Linny Family. Setelah disetujui oleh Mansur, tak lama kemudian datanglah Garde yang menyampaikan bahwa adanya tabung kimia yang sudah terpakai dengan sebuah catatan tentang air lautan primordial yang dapat melarutkan penduduk pribumi. Mendengar fakta tersebut, seluruh audiens pun mengkejut dan kasus ini pun akhirnya dikaitkan dengan sebuah ramalan kuno di bangsa ini. Setelah muncul fakta baru, muncul pula argumen baru yang berhasil menciutkan semua tuntutan dari Furina.
In the water tank rope and the number selector securing his target. When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would pour down and dissolve Halsey. Afterward, Cowell would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being covered up by the water tank on stage. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to use to cover his tracks.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now.
Sesaat setelah Furina kisut, datanglah seorang garde yang mengaku menemukan tabung reaksi lain di tas milik Lini.
I shall now invite him on stage to share it with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just inspecting the luggage of the other people involved in this case. And we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea among Lini's personal effects.
What?
That can't be.
Oh, I see.
Mendengar hal tersebut, Furina yang labil pun moodnya kembali naik dan langsung kembali gacor.
To come back and wound you.
Di tengah bingung memilih bukti dan ditambah Furina yang ngoceh tanpa henti, muncullah Dewi Fortuna di tengah persidangan yang berhasil membuat Mansur emosi.
Loyal audience.
Excuse me, everyone, but I must interject.
Miss, I must ask you not to shout and to respect the ongoing legal proceedings.
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting, you know. Now, would anyone here like to take a little break from all this debate and see a little magic? I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared back in the flesh, right before your very eyes.
Hanya saja karena Navia membawa kunci dari insiden, dia pun bodoh amat dengan semua ini.
And voila!
Bruh.
And it's Ace Detective time on time! Having been selected out of the blue, Lillian panicked. Her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kicked the door open, producing the thud we all heard. Hearing the commotion, Cowell leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that Lillian had not dissolved. He did not know that Lillian was not from Fontaine, but was a thief who made her way in by stealing a ticket. Mistakenly believing that the water from the primordial sea needed time to take effect, he tried to force Lillian back into the box. The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but Lillian came out on top, knocking Cowell out and putting him in the box. With no way of escaping, she changed her clothes and hid in the costume trunk until the performance ended.
Now then, Lady Farina, do you wish to speak against the defense's statements?
Setelah melihat bukti nyata serta keterangan langsung dari sang korban sekaligus pelaku, Furina pun langsung kikuk dan hendak minggat karena kalah dari persidangan. Sebelum sidang ditutup, Mansur pun langsung reka ulang kilas balik dengan insiden ini.
Selected his next victim from the audience reservation list. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young woman would be chosen. To cover up any evidence while committing the deed, Cowell thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which would conceal the water left behind after the young woman was dissolved. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to drop and hide the watermarks. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box and stuck it to the box's lid. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman to said box. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon containing the water. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Liliane was not from Fontaine, and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Liliane. Thinking that the waters had not yet taken effect, he decided to proceed. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box, and thus became his own final victim. Liliane, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid until the performance ended, before hiding in other parts of the opera house. As for Linny, he was in the underground structures within the opera house, and was thus...
Setelah selesai meluruskan urutan peristiwa, Halsey pun dibawa ke benteng Meroprit dan sidang pun ditutup dengan gacha di Honkai Star Rail.
As such, Linny and Lynette are officially declared not guilty.